Hello, everyone, and welcome to Direct to Console.
That podcast that you listen to because you don't really have a life.
Or because you're just looking for some white noise to fill the space while you're doing some gaming, hopefully. We're kind of hoping this show will be about gaming culture, gaming philosophy. It's
Philosophy?
Well, not like that series of books.
I really don't think Kant had anything to say about video games.
Well, maybe he played poker. I don't know.
Video poker?
Video poker.
That thing that my dad likes to do while he's at the bar.
Yes, on the Apple II. We're hoping that this is definitely about gaming, but keeping in mind the people who play video games. All the different kinds of people, how different people play video games, what kind of influence gaming has had on their lives.
Those things that piss you off in games.
And just how people have responded to the existence of gaming in general.
Yeah, so I have an idea, because it's sure to inspire some rage. How about we describe each other in the intro?
I hadn't thought of that. Well, my name is Tristan.
My name's Trish.
And Trish is my fiancé.
Yay.
And she is someone who was not into gaming when I met her, but definitely not someone who is completely opposed to the idea of gaming or learning how to get into games. And luckily I can say that most of the things that Trish likes in gaming has not directly been influenced by me, because you can clearly tell from the genres of games that she plays that I only really got her into the medium and not the genres.
Like Fire Emblem, that game you hate that's really just interactive chess.
I mean, I respect Fire Emblem, don't get me wrong, but I'm just so bad at it. I'm bad at Fire Emblem, I'm bad at StarCraft, I'm bad at any real-time strategy. I want to be good at them, they're good games. The first one of those I played was Shining Force, and I just hated the fact that I was always so under-leveled.
Well, Tristan is that kid that you knew in your neighborhood that was the only person with a Genesis. He's been playing games his whole life, and knows quite a bit about Nintendo, even though he didn't grow up with it, because naturally everybody else had Nintendo.
We were all antisocial kids, but luckily all of my friends... I did have a lot of friends, luckily, and all of them had Nintendo, Super Nintendo, and we all got into it. I stopped being a Sega person around the time of the Dreamcast. I was saving up for a Dreamcast because I liked Sonic and I wanted to get Sonic Adventure, but when I realized that there really weren't any other games for the Dreamcast, I just switched over to the N64. Next thing you know, we all had an N64, and those of us with a little bit of extra cash got PlayStations.
Yeah, so Tristan's the experienced gamer. I am so new that I am still amazed by the crap that people played as children.
Well, there are many different kinds of games out there. I got into mostly side-scrollers, beat-em-ups, shoot-em-ups, some strategy games, and any RPG I could get my hands on.
Fair enough. That's like the one genre that you and I agree on, is we both like RPGs, but we like different types of RPGs.
Honestly, a lot of RPGs I play these days are in order to have something mindless to do. I like grinding while listening to podcasts, and I'm hoping to maybe inspire a couple people to grind while listening to this podcast. But we'll see.
Well, anyway, today's topic is completionism.
Yes, I thought it would be a good idea to talk about it because it's one of those things I'm kind of obsessed with.
And I like making fun of how obsessed you are with it.
Yeah, but I'm not as obsessed as a lot of completionists might be. I do have rules. My completionism philosophy has more to do with just wanting to see everything a game has to offer, rather than just playing through a game and getting done with it. And there are a lot of different games that warrant this, and a lot of different reasons to warrant completionism. I don't just play games for enjoyment, that is primarily why I play them, but when I'm finished with the game, I do want to be able to talk about it with other people. If you watch a movie, you know that everyone else has seen all of the film, and if they haven't, they can certainly tell you. But if you are playing a game and you get done with it, there's a chance for a lot of different games, especially modern ones, that they may have not done every single thing that you did as well in that game.
There are some games, though, that I wouldn't say that I expect people to be completionists in, like any of the Elder Scroll games. But, I mean, as little as I've done in Skyrim, and the minute amount that I've done in Oblivion, I still hold conversations with people that play these, because you can relate.
You will get to a point where people say, have you done this quest yet? And you're going to have to say, I haven't gotten to that one yet.
Well, when that point comes, I'm just going to have to tell them that it took too long, and I got bored. Because that is most of my gaming style. If you want me to play a game, it better keep me interested for a long period of time.
Luckily, The Elder Scrolls is just one of the few really long games out there. And most of the time you can play them passively. Like Minecraft. That's definitely a game you play to relax. It might be one you play while listening to an audiobook. It may be one where you just get home at the end of the day. You don't really want to do anything that requires participation, but you don't want to watch a movie either.
Oh, that's fair. And the more that you and I have been together, the more and more that I've found that video as a media is not interesting to me at all. Like, I would rather be playing video games or reading a book, and those are two opposite ends of the spectrum.
The cool thing is that when video games were first created, people thought of them as the idea of interactive films. They're basically the Hollywood films we watch now, except you'll be able to control what happens, but early video game technology couldn't really catch up with what you and I know today as basically that, interactive films.
Yeah, and I think L.A. Noire, which I just started recently, is a very good example of that. It's pretty much an interactive movie, and I think that it's designed that way. Well, we're getting off topic.
When it comes to completionism, I have a few rules that I apply to the different games that I play. And now that I'm on my own, I get to play a lot more video games than I really was allowed to play as a child. Not because my parents were the kind of people who didn't buy me certain genres of video games, but because my game time was limited. Not by any specific rule, just the idea of, Tristan, you're playing too many of those things, why don't you go outside?
Which is the complete opposite of me, where my parents just forbade them in the household.
But I did get to play quite a lot of video games, and I was able to at least catch up with what everyone else was doing. So I have a lot of games under my belt, but I never really finished any of them, and so now I kind of do it religiously.
Yeah, I've noticed you are very anal about playing games all the way through and playing them with all the characters and playing them on all the systems, and it drives me insane.
Well, there are reasons I do that.
I'm just saying, I don't really understand why you feel the need to play the same exact game on the same exact emulator with all the different characters all over again just because now it's on your phone with Genzoid.
Mostly it's because they're games that I know, and I like to play them in different forms. Nintendo was pretty good about that. They came up with a lot of different ways to play games, like the Power Glove, or, what was that, the Rollin' Rocker?
Oh, that thing. The poor man's Wii board.
Pretty much. I'm glad technology has caught up, for sure. But, mainly it's because I like to see if I can play the same game in a different form, maybe using the buttons on my phone, or maybe the on-screen buttons, or using a Bluetooth controller with a lot of different things on it. Or I just like the fact that I can actually play through a lot of games that were otherwise completely unbeatable due to their difficulty, now that I have both save states and frame skipping.
I suppose, but I still think that it's a little bit crazy to play the whole game over again, just because now you have, like, the built-in keyboard on your phone versus your Bluetooth keyboard.
I just like playing games over again, even if there's not a whole lot of new stuff to it. I like being able to discover different paths in a video game. I like games that are designed to have different replay value. If they have alternate routes, alternate characters, those characters may have different move sets, they may have different stories. There's a lot of different bits of design when it comes to putting replay value into a game, and it varies among the characters for sure. but I'll usually do it just because I want to play the game again, because it's a good game.
I suppose, but still, it does keep you from getting to newer games.
Sometimes. I play through games a lot more, again, on my phone, mainly because I'm not all that interested in most cell phone games. You've interested me in quite a few, although a lot of new games out there, at least the ones for cell phones, are games that are not really complete. They're just wanting to charge you for the extra stuff that they put in the game to make the gameplay experience more inconvenient so that you'll pay real money to get through that thing.
Well, yeah, and that's part of the reason why I stopped having a smartphone. I went back to just having a shitty text and talk only phone.
Yep. And the only time I really play games on my phone or my tablet is when we're taking short breaks. If we're on the go and I really want a portable game system, I'll usually take a dedicated portable game system like my DS.
Like when I'm shopping and you just whip out your phone and start playing Shining in the Darkness.
Pretty much, except, well, that's a game on an emulator. But it's also one I played through all the way, so I know exactly what to do, and most of the time I'm just grinding anyway, so I may as well just do something to fill the silence.
The problem is it's not silence. I'll usually be talking to you while I'm doing this, but you don't have any visual import at that point.
Oh, I didn't realize this. Sometimes I'll just play through a game again just because I want to get better at it, because it's a game that a lot of people play. A lot of people play through Super Mario Brothers even though they probably beaten it a million times, because it's arguably the best game.
I suppose, but you have played through Doki Doki Panic multiple times.
Yeah, it's not just that, though. It's enjoyable, and it's... honestly, given how many times I've played through that game, I still don't know everything there is to know about it. But I also like to play through games in order. I don't just like to play a game that is 1, 2, 3, 4, Gaiden, Legends, etc. I also like to play through games in a series as they were released, just because I like to see how they've improved over the years.
I suppose, but that's another difference in us. Another difference between us is that, sure, I'll go a little bit completionist if I love a game series, like playing Paper Mario. I really liked the first Paper Mario, but then I was like, well, now I'm going to play all the Paper Marios, and I was disappointed in the GameCube, Thousand Year Door. I was disappointed in the DS version, that was Sticker Star, but I skipped the one for the Wii. So, I don't see any point in playing them in order, especially because they're more episodial than they are sequential.
Oh, sure. At the end of the day, the game is all about enjoyment, so if you're not enjoying yourself, there's really no reason to play it. Although, I am completely and utterly infatuated with the kinds of trivia throwbacks that happen in the continuity of various game series. There are lots of games that'll do that. Like Paper Mario, for example, will make a lot of references to its prequels, but if there is a game that I absolutely do not want to play, I'll try to play it for a little while until I get way too frustrated with it, and then I'll just move on to the next one. Case in point, Final Fantasy II. When I started the Final Fantasy Marathon, I started with the first game, and the first game I liked, and that was good. Then I started the second game, where they attempted to take the leveling system out of Final Fantasy and adopt something more akin to the Elder Scrolls, where you learn by actually doing the thing. The problem was, you were not actually leveling by doing the thing, and the only way that you could level up your HP and your MP were to get severely injured, so you had to put yourself at major risk every time you wanted to improve your characters, which completely destroyed the point of training. I understand that it was an anti-grinding, but it was a system that just didn't work. And the NES version of Final Fantasy II, which I played a translated copy of, was even more broken to the point where you could level up just by hitting your own characters.
Yeah, that's not right.
That, and I could not stand Final Fantasy II whatsoever, so I opted out of playing it, and I just watched a Let's Play of it. No, actually, I just went and downloaded a copy of it that was modified to where you could just play through the entire story. Your characters are pretty much invincible, and you just have fun as if you were actually trying. That was all I needed, really, and then when I got to Final Fantasy III, it was much better at getting back on track with the series, and it had more relations to Final Fantasy I, and not only that, It was the first Final Fantasy game in the series to feature auto-retargeting.
Which is important.
Yeah. There were mods of the first Final Fantasy that fixed the auto-retargeting thing, but that was something that really bothered me. Not just because I'm the kind of person that liked to grind just by walking back and forth and hitting A while listening to a gaming podcast like Direct to Console, but I did want to get to something to where I didn't have to think about it too much. Not to mention, auto-retargeting is much more efficient. If you've already killed something...
You don't want to literally beat the dead horse.
Yeah, and not to mention, if you are targeting 4 different people, you are doing so as if you are planning on killing all 4 of those people. Otherwise, you would get 2 people to target the same area, but yeah, you would be attacking the same thing. It doesn't make any sense. There are a lot of people who will argue on Final Fantasy and say things like, it's more realistic because everyone is deciding what to do at the same time and they all execute their own actions, but if we're going for realism, there are way too many more improvements you can make in the first Final Fantasy. It is the first of its kind, though. It's charming, and there's enough limitations on that game to where it's pretty balanced.
Well, that argument doesn't really hold a lot of water, because it's like, if I'm running up with my comrades to kill something, but it dies when one person hits it, I'm not going to waste my time to hit it again.
Exactly.
If it's falling to the ground, I'm going to, at the very least, miss my blow.
Mm-hmm. And I just don't see the point otherwise.
Well, what about cheating?
I will only cheat in a game if it satisfies a few requirements. I'll go into detail about this a little bit later, but there are 2 major instances in which I'll cheat in a game. One, if the game is utterly impossible, to where you cannot enjoy yourself by playing the game.
Been there.
Or if you've already beaten the game and you're just messing around.
No, that's fair.
This was actually a rule that me and my friends had when we were kids. You have to beat a game before you can cheat in it, unless you're just at the other person's house and you're just messing around, or if you just cannot get through the game otherwise.
And even in, like, the 2 years that I've been playing games, I've come across a lot of games that have pretty much unbeatable areas. For instance, Murdered Soul Suspect, which I actually did enjoy that game for a while, but I got to a point where I couldn't continue. It was impossible.
Yeah, and you should always be able to enjoy yourself, too.
And I think that's important, is that it should not be so difficult that somebody cannot just pick up the disc willy-nilly, knowing nothing about games, and not be able to do it. That is absolutely ridiculous. If they want to market to a new demographic, if they want new gamers, if they want everybody to be able to play these games and to make more money, then they need to make it so that it's not watered down, it's not dumbed down, but to the point where, like, somebody like me 2 years ago could pick it up and go, oh, that's cool, I want to play LA Noire, and just pop the disc into the fucking machine.
As a completionist, I often don't know what's easier to play than others, but it's interesting that you make up that point, because there are a lot of new versions of games that will dumb things down a little bit to attract new players, but there are a lot of pro players who have played through the entire series since day one, and they don't think that the new feature of the game to make it a little bit easier for newcomers is traditional.
But that's what difficulty level is for. Somebody like me who's new to all this, I always play on easy. I never play on normal. If I have the option, I will always play on easy. And I think that's an effective way to keep from dumbing it down.
Some people think that the difficulty levels themselves have a bit of balance into the rule system. The easy version of a very difficult game is certainly not going to be easy for someone that's never played video games before. Not to mention, it depends on how easy as well. There are some people that say that you'll be missing out on certain content unless you play it on a hard mode, especially if it likes to integrate story mode into the difficulty. There are other people who think that because a game included a certain easy way of playing it, that it dumbed down the rules too much. Like Mega Man 9, I think, had an easy mode to where you had infinite lives or something. I haven't actually gotten around to it. But you played Fire Emblem Awakening, and you said that there was a feature where players would be wounded instead of permanently dead, and that's certainly going to change your gameplay experience.
Oh, definitely. And I don't know when they implemented this, because I've just started playing through the series in chronological order. But I know on Fire Emblem Awakening, which is the main reason why I bought the 3DS, because it looks gorgeous. I bought it for the 3DS because it looked nice, but I was very, very happy that I wasn't going to lose playable characters just from them dying in battle, because it happens. It happens all the time. You can't predict how the freaking computer is going to do it. How they're going to move, if that's going to actually hit you. It's impossible sometimes, and sometimes those characters are needed to beat a level. For instance, there are levels that are mostly axe wielding. Almost all of your enemies are axe wielders. So you obviously need somebody that's in the other side of that triangle. What is it? You need a lot of sword characters, but what if all your sword characters died? Well, now you're screwed, because you can't beat them effectively. If all you have are lances and other sword or other axe characters, how are you expected to get through the level without losing even more characters?
That's understandable. That's something I think that hopefully we can talk a little bit more about in terms of gamer culture, because some people attribute to gaming culture the idea that difficulty is tantamount to the purity of the culture, i.e., you have to be either a masochist or just be really good at a game in order to enjoy the culture. I think that is how it used to be, and that's probably why it was kind of niche, but things are branching out these days, and they should probably adapt to the changes.
Here's the thing, life isn't an RPG. I shouldn't have to level up my video gaming level. I shouldn't have to be starting out on something like Cooking Mama or Pets for the DS, just so that eventually I can play Skyrim or Call of Duty, alright? This is ridiculous.
When it comes to that time, that's when I'll usually put in the old Game Shark or the old Game Genie and play through Devil May Cry, which was previously completely impossible. Because it's a good game, but it is really hard. And a lot of people are going to buy it, and a lot of people should be able to see it too, without having to go out and watch a Let's Play of it. When it comes to difficulty in a game, I'll usually try to play through all the difficulties just to see how they differ. Unless they just tell me outright and it turns out to be more of a enemy health thing. Most of the time when I play a game, I do try to play on higher difficulties, not because I'm a masochist or because I like to challenge myself, but oftentimes games have more content if you play on higher difficulty levels. Higher difficulty levels, assuming it doesn't mean more enemy health, will mean more enemies and hence more gameplay time. If you're good enough to fit the bill, you'll get the most enjoyment out of the difficulty that suits you.
And that's fair. And I mean, if I played through a game once and I knew, like, easy mode was an absolute breeze, then I would probably go up to the next level and play through it again, especially if I really enjoyed that game. And if that was easy enough for me too, then I'd probably go up to difficult. But it really depends on the game, and there's no set standard for what is considered easy.
Yeah. We'll go into difficulty mode a little bit later, but I'll conclude this section by saying that certain difficulty will introduce different bits of gameplay. Sometimes enemies will have a completely different weapon, which you can also use to your advantage in terms of strategizing, which I find really cool. There was a Quake mod that actually gave the enemies different weapons that I'd never seen before, and it brought one of my favorite games into a whole new light, and I thought that was really interesting. But yeah, it is way harder, so you're just going to have to get used to it. It's more for pro players, I think. People who had played the game a lot. As opposed to difficulties, however, I will try to play through using different characters I'm not used to playing through. When it comes to something like the Elder Scrolls, where it only really matters on a story mode, I do like playing as different people because it's a lot more fun. Some older games will have a lot more strategic value to playing as certain characters, but sometimes you're just sick of playing the person that you're best at, and you just want to try someone new, if for no other reason than to make it feel like a totally different game.
Well, that does happen in, like, Skyrim and stuff like that. Like, maybe, for instance, my character is a tank. I dual-wield an axe, and I'm just dual-wield.
I should probably mention that I've only played through Oblivion and I haven't gotten around to Skyrim, mainly because of obsessive completionism, but also I just am not ready to play another Elder Scrolls just yet.
Yeah, I two-hand an axe and I run around and kill things, but I have definitely thought about starting over and just having a more balanced character, maybe going to a sword and a shield instead, because I've gotten my ass handed to me just from enemies hitting me from all sides.
When I started playing the Elder Scrolls, I thought I'd try it doing literally everything with the same character. And among the mechanical reasons why that's a bad idea, such as save bloating and the new installation of mods while you're in the middle of a game, I wanted to see if it was even possible, because the game is so long. Although I did make a few new characters, and it became an interesting new situation where I had to go back to having low-level stats, but at the same time I was still starting out, and I knew where things were, and the enemies were still low-level, so I felt fresh and new.
And it is definitely interesting relearning skills from another character. And I'm assuming that when we started this topic, you meant more like Streets of Rage.
Yeah, that's one game where the characters are definitely balanced, but they're very, very different. I have played Streets of Rage several times using each different character, and I plan on playing through each route on that new remake to a ridiculous level, just because I like seeing how each of the different characters play into each of the different stages. Especially because you can actually play as what they looked like in 1, 2, or 3, and the way the remakers designed it, there actually is an advantage to playing as a certain version of that character.
Well, that's nice, but when you say playing as every character, pretty much, or different characters, does that translate over to fighting games, like Soul Calibur and Street Fighter?
It especially has to do with fighting games, because playing through an entire fighting game using only one character will take about half an hour. If you want to get your $50 worth, you're going to want to play using a few more characters, especially if you're planning on playing real humans afterwards.
That's fair.
If the game's too long, though, I just won't bother. Alternatively speaking, if the game takes too long to reach level 99 with all the characters, or if a level cap is completely eliminated altogether, I obviously am not going to try to level up all the characters until I feel that they're strong enough to take on just about anything.
See, I don't think I've run across anything that doesn't have a level cap.
There are a few of them. One of the more obscure ones is Airgites, which is a fighting game for the PlayStation, which featured Final Fantasy VII characters as guests. But apart from the fighting game portion, there is a dungeon mode, which is very similar to Diablo or Torchlight, where you just go through a dungeon and you fight people. And that particular game has eating in it, and it actually doesn't have a level cap. Interestingly enough, the leveling is so slow-paced that you probably won't get to level 99 before reaching the bottom floor, which is actually only 20 floors, but it's not about leveling so much as it is getting more weapons.
That's fair, but doesn't it take you forever to get to level 99?
It really does. Most of the time, when I want to get to level 99 with a set of characters, I'll do so while listening to a gaming podcast called Direct to Console.
You really need to stop plugging this.
Okay.
I know you want a goof, but this goof? Is this really what you're going for?
Well. But seriously, though, I'll usually listen to podcasts while I'm grinding. Before that, I just kind of meditated while doing it. It is kind of an interesting passive thing to do, and hell, people needed a passive thing to do while they were waiting for Minecraft to exist.
Oh, goodness. Like, how do you even complete Minecraft? It's like the never-ending story of games.
Some people say that in order to win Minecraft, you make your entire village, house, town, whatever, completely automated. Others say you finally catch up to your brain in terms of ideas. You finally build all those things you want to build.
That's what creative mode is for.
Creative mode is for when you don't want to work for it, and it doesn't feel like an accomplishment when you get done with it.
Fuck you, I spent 3 months in vanilla mining, just mining every day, and could not find a single goddamn diamond.
Just the luck of the draw. But you're not supposed to...
No!
You're also not supposed to make structures out of diamond.
You need diamond in order to get obsidian block.
Regardless, this is actually why I got into mods in Minecraft and mod packs. I eventually just got sick of Minecraft altogether for a few reasons. I decided to build a few different houses on a few different files. One was going to be a castle on the ground. Basic. One was going to be a city in the sky. That was going to be one of my favorites. One of them was going to be a house underwater, made of glass mainly. One was going to be built in the Nether, with only a single portal to the world of dirt. But mainly spending time in the Nether, seeing how I can make that somewhat self-sufficient. But I'll probably have to portal back to the real world a lot of the time. But the base, where the storage was, would be in the Nether. That would be cool. What ended up happening, I started a world in the Nether, and I was playing it for about 3 days over the course of the entire weekend. And then on Sunday night, there was a power outage. When my computer turned back on, I went back to go get my file, and my file was inexplicably gone for whatever reason. I had been experiencing quite a lot of technical issues with Minecraft up to that point. Not enough to justify uninstalling it, but enough that a lot of hard work was erased, and I was just getting tired of the repetitiveness of it all anyway, and I wanted something to make it a little bit better. And not to mention, it was incredibly imbalanced. And every time there was an update, I would have to completely remake my house, and I was just getting tired of it. So I switched over to mod packs. I was playing Feed the Beast for quite a while. Feed the Beast was a sequel to what was a mod pack formerly known as Tekkit, a combination of Bucket and Technic. There are mod packs for mod packs, and so on and so forth. But people thought Tekkit was really imbalanced, so they turned it into Feed the Beast, and there are quite a lot of different mods in that game.
I don't know if Feed the Beast is still running, though. Last time I did it, the textures were off. One of the mod packs needs to be updated.
Unfortunately, it's really hard to keep up with that game. I haven't played that game in a while, but when I was trying to keep it up to date, updates would break things and stop other things from working. It would add things that I didn't really want in there. The third-party mods that it didn't include, that I wanted in there, didn't work very well with some of the mods that were in there as a base. And there was a lot of hostile feedback from a lot of the creators, especially Greg, on a lot of...
Fuck Greg! I don't know who this Greg is, but fuck him!
Greg was the creator of Greg Tech, which was a mod designed to make the game harder. Unfortunately, the average person really can't remember a million recipes already, and Greg Tech took those recipes and increased it about threefold.
I remember this.
Greg was also unwilling to work with the mod developers' community. He refused to support his game. Just going onto the website and attempting to install the mod got you yelled at to the point where just the installation file was hidden, and if you wanted any support on the game, you had to wade through forums of garbage, and it was just not worth it anymore.
Was he one of those modders that makes modifications just for their own benefit?
I think so, but he was very offensive to a lot of the other mod developers, as he would change around recipes for other mods in Feed the Beast if you installed Greg Tech. If you wanted to opt out of those new recipes, which required new things that you didn't even know existed up to that point, it was extremely difficult. And to find out how to do it took an hour.
Yeah, that's ridiculous, but we are off topic again.
Yeah. So basically, I like to level up my characters all the way up to level 99, but honestly, I don't even worry about it, because leveling up anything else that requires leveling in whatever game I'm playing will usually take longer than to level the characters all the way. Like, in Final Fantasy VII, you have Materia, which is a special orb that grants you powers, and you level those up as you go, and you level up the orbs instead of your characters in terms of learning new skills, and that's how you increase the effectiveness of that particular orb. When you master it, it births a new one, and then you can level it up all the way from that point on. That's how you get multiple of the ones that you can only get one of in the game. There are other materia called huge materia, which contain all of the spells, and they take a very long time to level up. In order to get one, you have to level up every single one of that type, and then you have to go to a special place to get the large version of it. Ultimately, it is worth it for all three of your characters to have one. I opted to have every single character on my team have one, just because that was probably the lowest, most Eulalilia obsessive moment of my life. And now that I'm done with that, I'm very happy.
Word of the day, Eulalilia.
Eulalilia was a YouTube user who was known for being... What's the best word to describe this guy? He wasn't known for being mean. Strangely enough, not boring. But his YouTube videos were of very odd things. The most familiar thing I can use to describe it was that he made a video, from what I can recall, documenting how many tiles there were in a level of Bubsy for the PlayStation.
Why?
Well, the only time I can think of gamers doing something like this is when they only have one or two games and they're incredibly bored. Eulalilia is just one of those guys that is interested in very strange things, and his videos became viral for a little while.
Okay.
I know some people would call it obsessive to play through all the different games in a series, but given that I do like the whole continuity thing, it's kind of a thing I do just for my own benefit, but also because I like feeling fulfilled at playing through an entire series, and when a sequel comes out, like Final Fantasy 15, I'd like to think, oh yeah, I have all the 14 others behind me. But I won't play through a game if it is just so different from the rest of the games that it's almost unplayable. My friend Joel recommended I play through Persona 3 when it came out, and I hadn't played through Persona 1 or 2, and I asked him if it would be a problem. He said, certainly not. And I said, well, you're talking to a person who plays through all the different Final Fantasy games in an attempt to catch up with the series and its improvements over the years. He says, Persona 1 and 2 are so far removed from the rest of the series that it's almost not even worth playing them. You probably wouldn't even know that you were playing through the first or second games in the series unless they told you the name of the title. So I don't know. But if a game is fun, I'll play it, pretty much. I think it's cleaner to keep track of the order in which I'm playing through a lot of games, because in my new completionist quest to actually finish all of these games that I bought when I was a kid and never actually played all the way through, it's worth it for me.
Well, I mean, if that's the thing that you want to do. Honestly, as much as I think that it's kind of crazy, if it makes you happy and it doesn't hurt you, go for it.
Yeah, and this is just kind of a thing I do for myself. I try not to let it get to me. It's much easier to play through an entire series of, say, a beat-em-up that only has one character, or a side-scroller that only has one character and takes 2 hours total. I like to be thorough, because I don't want to say that I've played through an entire game series and yet still not be able to talk about it with someone who had played also through it themselves.
Right.
So it's something I do for fun, and it guarantees I get my money's worth every time I play through a game, even though a lot of games are free these days.
Yeah, it's true. And I mean, again, if it makes you happy, do it.
By the end of this completionist thing of mine...
Your quest.
My quest. Anytime a new game comes out that I subscribe to, I'll just be able to buy it and play it. But there will always be a new game series to get into, honestly, and I'll always have fun doing a binge on them. So,
Well, I think that's going to be it for us.
I was wanting to talk about completionism as our first episode because that's probably the most obsessive thing that I do, and I just wanted to get it out of the way. But it's also a good way to talk about niche gamers and the weird things that a lot of gamers will do. There's a lot of different ways to enjoy games, and I'm hoping we'll meet a lot of different people that have their own special habits in gaming.
Of course. So, I just want to plug some links before we go. You can find us on YouTube. We're direct-to-console on there. For some reason, I can't find the link for it. We're twitter.com/direct-to-console. You can find us on Facebook by searching direct-to-console. And for any email inquiries, you can email us at direct-to-console@gmail.com.
Simple stuff.
Yep, just wherever you're at, search direct-to-console and we'll pop up.
Sounds good. And if you have any feedback, we're new to this whole podcasting thing, so let us know what you think. If you have any ideas for episodes, we'll certainly try to accommodate it as best we can.
Oh yeah, I forgot a link. You can find all of our links on directconsole.weebly.com. Eventually we'll get a domain name, so if you ever need a link to any of our other sites, just go to direct2console, one word, .weebly.com.
Sounds about right.
So, this has been Direct to Console.
And we hope to see you again soon.
We're bad with sign-offs.
We'll have one eventually. All right. Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye now.
We'd also like to say thank you very much to Victor Hamilton for creating our intro and outro. Thank you very much!